There's a certain kind of silence that settles over a city late at night, the hum of distant car engines, the occasional flicker of a streetlight, the quiet lull between one exhausting day and the next. I was deep in sleep, my body finally relaxed after hours of grinding away at work. But then, a low vibration shattered the stillness. My phone. Half asleep, I groaned and rolled over, my fingers blindly reaching for the device on my nightstand. Normally, I wouldn't bother checking. Nothing good ever comes from late-night messages, just junk mail, some pointless work update, or another annoying spam text. But something about the way the screen glowed in the darkness sent a shiver through me. I squinted at the notification. A message from an unknown number. You deserve to know the truth. Right below the text, there was a video file. Immediately, my heart started pounding. A scam? A prank? Maybe some phishing attempt? My name wasn't in the message, which made it even more unsettling. It wasn't one of those generic scare tactics. No, this was direct. Purposeful. Meant for me. I hesitated, my thumb hovering over the play button. Some instinct deep inside screamed at me to put the phone down, to ignore it. But curiosity, that gnawing, restless thing inside me, won out. The screen flickered to life. At first, the video was grainy, the kind of hidden camera footage you see in cheap exposés. The view was obstructed, tucked beneath something, maybe a desk. The angle was off, but the audio was clear enough. A chair creaked. The rustling of fabric. A hushed voice. Then I saw them. A pair of hands, delicate, familiar. And then I heard it. A voice I had memorized like the back of my own hand. My wife's voice. You won't regret this, Mr. Lancaster. My breath hitched. My entire body locked up as an icy sensation spread through my veins. The camera shifted, revealing more of the scene. The dim lighting of an office, shadows stretching long over a polished mahogany desk. A man, leaning back in his chair, exuding the kind of arrogance that came with power. And my wife. Right there. The rational part of my brain shut down. My stomach twisted in ways I couldn't explain. This wasn't some misunderstanding. This wasn't a drunken mistake or a lapse in judgment. This was deliberate. The way she carried herself, the tone in her voice, this wasn't new to her. There was no hesitation, no guilt. Just ease. Comfort. She had done this before. And him, Daniel Lancaster. My boss. He wasn't surprised. He wasn't nervous. He was amused. Relaxed. As if this was just another routine part of his day, another transaction in a long list of them. I gripped the phone so hard my fingers ached. I wanted to look away, to unsee it. But I couldn't. Every passing second felt like another knife twisting into my gut. And then, just as quickly as it had begun, the video cut to black. For what felt like forever, I just sat there, staring at my phone, my breath shallow and uneven. My mind refused to catch up with my body. It was like I was outside of myself, floating above the nightmare unfolding in front of me. Then, another message popped up. Now you know. Divorce or forgiveness. My vision blurred. My chest rose and fell with ragged, uneven breaths. Before I could even think of how to respond, my phone buzzed again. Another message. You're not alone in this. Call me. The sender's name appeared at the top. Laura Lancaster. My boss's wife. I clenched my jaw, gripping my phone so tight my knuckles turned white. My wife had betrayed me. My boss had humiliated me. But now, it seemed I wasn't the only one who had something to lose. I had never spoken to her beyond polite, empty greetings at company events. She was always perfectly put together, stylish, composed, the kind of woman who could cut you down with a single look. And now, she had reached out to me, the only other person who had seen what I had seen, who had felt what I had felt. I hesitated before responding. Every part of me screamed to handle this alone, to sit with my rage and let it fester in silence. But I wasn't the only one who had been betrayed. Where? I finally typed. Her response was immediate. Midnight. Avalon Cafe. Don't be late. The Avalon Cafe was the kind of place most people didn't notice. Small, tucked away between a laundromat and a bookstore, its windows fogged from years of coffee and whispered secrets. It smelled like burnt espresso and old paper, the perfect setting for quiet conversations and buried regrets. I spotted her immediately. Laura sat in a booth near the back, one hand wrapped around a coffee cup, the other drumming against the table in a slow, rhythmic pattern. She looked up as I approached, scanning my face with an unreadable expression. "You came," she said simply, as if she had never doubted it. I slid into the seat across from her, skipping the pleasantries. "Why did you send me that video?" She smirked, but there was no amusement in it. "Because you deserved to know the truth." She took a slow sip of her coffee, then set the cup down with deliberate care. "And because I needed you to see that you and we have something in common now." I clenched my jaw. "A spouse who destroyed everything?" She tilted her head slightly, eyes gleaming in the dim light. "Exactly." For a moment, silence stretched between us. The hum of low conversations and the occasional clatter of dishes filled the space, a stark contrast to the storm raging inside both of us. Laura leaned forward slightly, her voice quieter now. "I found that video in my husband's personal files. He records them, you know. Little trophies for himself. Your wife is just one of many." A sharp, sickening pang twisted in my stomach. I wanted to believe this was a one-time mistake, a lapse in judgment. But deep down, I knew better. "How long?" I asked, my voice rough. Laura exhaled, as if she had been waiting for that question. "Does it matter?" I looked away, jaw tightening. No. It didn't. The damage was already done. "I know you're angry," she continued, fingers still tapping against the table. "I know you want to scream, break something, maybe even ruin their lives the way they ruined ours." I turned my gaze back to her, my own fury reflected in her eyes. "And what do you want?" A slow, dangerous smile spread across her lips. "Justice." I let out a bitter laugh. "Justice or revenge?" She raised an eyebrow. "Does the difference matter?" It was a thought that had been circling in my mind since I watched that video. Laura reached into her purse and pulled out a small flash drive, sliding it across the table toward me. "This isn't just about them. There's more. More women. More secrets. And if you think your wife is the only one benefiting from this arrangement, think again." I hesitated before picking up the drive. It felt heavier than it should have, like it carried the weight of something I wasn't ready to face. "You have a choice," Laura said, finishing the last sip of her coffee. "You can walk away, pretend you never saw that video, and let them keep everything while you lose everything." She leaned in, voice barely above a whisper. "Or, we make sure they regret it." I met her gaze, and for the first time since watching that video, I felt something other than rage. I felt clarity. Laura stood, grabbing her coat. "Take some time to think about it," she said lightly. "But not too much. They're not going to stop. And neither should we." She walked out, leaving me alone with the flash drive and the decision that would change everything. The days that followed were a blur. Every time I looked at my wife, every time she smiled at me like nothing had changed, I felt a sickening weight settle in my chest. She had no idea what I knew. No idea that with every casual kiss on the cheek, every murmured "I love you," she was hammering the final nails into the coffin of our marriage. But I didn't say a word. Not because I was unsure of what to do, but because silence was my greatest weapon. Instead of confronting her in a fit of rage, instead of storming out and demanding answers like she probably expected I would, I waited. I watched. And most importantly, I listened. Hannah had always been ambitious. She had this drive, this relentless hunger to climb the corporate ladder. But lately, her success wasn't just about talent or hard work, it was something else. Something calculated. She started coming home later than usual, always with the same excuses. Late meetings. Urgent deadlines. Last-minute business trips. And yet, she never looked exhausted. If anything, she had a glow about her, a smug, satisfied confidence that made my blood run cold. She wasn't just advancing in her career. She was reveling in it. That was when I knew the video wasn't enough. Sure, it was damning, but if she was bold enough to sleep with my boss for power, she'd be bold enough to spin it. Call it a mistake, a weak moment. She'd twist the narrative until I was the one looking unreasonable. No, I needed more. Something so indisputable, so ironclad, that no amount of gaslighting, manipulation, or fake tears could erase it. So I did what any man would do when his world was set on fire. I went hunting for the truth. The first step was surveillance. Small, nearly invisible microphones hidden in places where Hannah felt most comfortable. Under my desk at work, inside our shared home office. And her car. Those long business calls she took while driving home? I had ignored them before. Not anymore. The first few days gave me nothing. Just dull conversations, harmless complaints about coworkers, office gossip. But on the fourth day, I hit gold. It was late evening. Hannah was in our home office, pacing as she spoke in hushed tones. I sat in the living room, my heartbeat hammering as I adjusted the Bluetooth connection in my ear, tapping into the live feed. Her voice came through, low but clear. I just want to make sure we're on the same page. A male voice responded, deep, arrogant. I knew that voice. Daniel Lancaster. Of course, darling, he said, smugness dripping from every syllable. You've been an excellent team player. I clenched my fists. My nails dug into my palms. Hannah laughed. It wasn't nervous or uncertain. It was the kind of laugh that made my stomach churn. Knowing. Comfortable. Just so we're clear, she continued, her tone sharp, businesslike. This raise isn't conditional, right? Because I don't do charity work. My vision blurred at the edges. My pulse pounded in my ears. You know me better than that, Daniel chuckled. You deliver, and I take care of my own. And don't worry about your husband. He's too busy playing the devoted little worker bee to notice anything. Silence. Then Hannah's voice again, playful now, but with something dangerous underneath. I just wanted to be sure. After all, I wouldn't want to waste my efforts on empty promises. I yanked the earpiece out so fast it nearly hurt. My breath came in short, ragged bursts. My hands shook. This wasn't just about sex. This wasn't some affair driven by lust or passion. This was calculated. Cold. Hannah had sold herself for power. And she had laughed about it. I sat there for a long time, staring at nothing, my mind running over the past months. The lies. The deception. The way she had looked me in the eyes, kissed me goodnight, pretended I was the only one. She thought she was untouchable. She thought I was blind. She thought she had won. But she had underestimated me. And that would be her downfall. The next morning, I woke up with a plan. I still played my part, smiling when Hannah kissed me goodbye, nodding absent-mindedly as she rattled off her schedule for the day. But beneath the surface, something inside me had shifted. She thought she had everything under control. She had no idea that I was about to take it all away from her. The annual corporate conference was coming up, a massive event where the company's executives gathered to showcase their so-called leadership and parade their vision for the future. It was all for show. A chance for upper management to stroke their egos, pat each other on the back, and remind everyone beneath them that they were disposable. This year, though, this year was going to be different. Because I had something they weren't prepared for. Evidence. Not just of my wife's betrayal, but of Daniel Lancaster's entire disgusting operation. Laura had been right. Hannah wasn't his first. She was just another pawn in his long history of using women for power plays. And now, I had everything I needed to expose it all. The files Laura gave me weren't just scandalous, they were devastating. Hidden recordings. Emails. Secret transactions. And the videos. So many videos. I should have stopped watching after the first few, but I needed to understand. I needed to know just how deep this went. And the more I watched, the clearer it became, this wasn't just an affair. It was business. A system. A goddamn strategy. He recruited ambitious women, promised them promotions, strung them along just enough to make sure they knew who held the power. Some played along willingly. Others, not so much. But in the end, they all fell in line. Just like Hannah. And she had the nerve to laugh about it. The conference hall was packed. Rows of employees sat with their eyes flicking between their phones and the massive screen at the front of the room. No one actually cared about the speeches. They were just waiting for the free lunch. At exactly 11 a.m., Daniel strolled onto the stage, dressed in his usual tailored suit, flashing the same charming, meaningless smile he always did. "Good morning, everyone," he said, his voice carrying the same confidence as always. "I want to start today's meeting by acknowledging the incredible work each of you has done." And then, the screen behind him flickered. Daniel hesitated, his forehead creasing slightly. A moment of static. Then, an image. A dimly lit office. A leather chair. A familiar mahogany desk. And then, her. The entire room inhaled at once. Gasps. A few murmured curses. Someone dropped a pen. There she was. Hannah. On her knees in front of Daniel Lancaster, her body half hidden beneath his desk. The video was grainy, but there was no mistaking what was happening. Then came the audio. Daniel's voice, low and smug. Something about loyalty. Something about how she was playing the game right. My wife's voice followed. Soft. Playful. Willing. A ripple of shock spread through the crowd. Some people turned to each other, whispering furiously. Others just stared at the screen, horrified. At the front of the room, Daniel took a step back from the podium. His face was white. "This," his voice cracked, "this is an invasion of privacy. This is illegal." Silence. Then someone near the front muttered, "Is that Hannah?" More whispers followed. More disbelief. And in the front row, where the company's board members sat, I saw the exact moment they realized what was happening. One of them, a sharp-eyed man in his 60s, known for being ruthless with public scandals, slowly removed his glasses and pinched the bridge of his nose. And then, the laughter started. Not loud, not obnoxious, just a single chuckle from the back of the room. Then another. And another. Not the kind of laughter you hear at a joke, but the kind that comes when people are in utter disbelief. When something so corrupt, so pathetically predictable, is finally laid bare for everyone to see. Daniel's eyes darted around the room, searching for support, for someone, anyone, to help him. No one moved. His gaze landed on Laura. She was sitting near the back, calm as ever, watching him unravel with an expression of quiet satisfaction. Then she stood. She walked forward slowly, her heels clicking against the polished floor, the only sound in the deafening silence. When she reached the front, she tilted her head slightly. "Illegal," she repeated, her voice smooth as silk. "Daniel, sweetheart, I found this in your personal cloud storage." She gestured toward the screen. "You recorded it yourself." More murmurs. A few sharp intakes of breath. Daniel opened his mouth, then closed it. Laura turned toward the board members, addressing them directly. "This isn't just about an affair," she said, her tone suddenly sharper, more commanding. "This is about power. About how he abuses it. About how he thinks he can manipulate anyone he pleases and never face the consequences." A few executives nodded, already whispering amongst themselves. Laura's lips curled slightly. "Do you really think this is the first time he's done this?" she asked, scanning the room. "How many careers have been built or destroyed based on his personal whims?" Daniel clenched his fists. "You don't know what you're talking about." Laura raised an eyebrow. "Don't I?" She reached into her purse, pulled out her phone, and tapped the screen once. The video cut to black. And then, another one began to play. This time, it wasn't just Hannah. It was a montage. Different women. Different offices. Different whispers of promises made and debts collected. Emails popped up on the screen next. Messages between Daniel and multiple female employees, carefully worded but undeniably damning. The room erupted. Some voices rose in outrage. Others in disbelief. The executives in the front row were already murmuring to each other, seeing the scandal for what it was. It was too big to sweep under the rug. One of the board members, the sharp-eyed man who had been silent until now, finally stood. He straightened his tie, adjusted his glasses, and spoke in a measured, deadly tone. "Mr. Lancaster," he said, "consider yourself dismissed. Effective immediately." Daniel froze. "You can't do this," he sputtered. "You can't just—" "Oh, we can," the board member interrupted. "And we are." Daniel turned toward Laura again, his face burning with rage. "You think you can do this to me?" he snarled under his breath. Laura just smiled. "Oh, Daniel," she murmured. "I already have." The doors to the conference room swung open. Security entered. Their presence sent an unmistakable message. One of them stepped forward. "Mr. Lancaster," he said, his tone cool and professional, "we need you to come with us." Daniel let out a bitter laugh. Unbelievable. He turned, searching the crowd for someone, anyone, to back him up. But no one moved. He looked at Hannah. But she wasn't looking at him. She was frozen. She knew. She had gambled everything. And she had lost. The moment the doors closed behind him, the tension in the room finally snapped. Hushed voices turned into outright conversations, phones buzzing as news of the scandal spread like wildfire. Laura let out a slow breath and turned toward Hannah, her expression unreadable. Then she smiled. Not warmly, not kindly, but with something close to pity. "I'd start updating your resume if I were you." Hannah blinked rapidly, like a cornered animal looking for a way out. "Please," she whispered, barely audible. But no one was listening. She had made her choice. And now, she was paying the price. The conference room was a war zone. People whispered furiously, glancing at their phones as the news spread. Some employees had already started typing up emails, their expressions tense as they no doubt tried to distance themselves from the scandal unraveling in real time. Others just stared. At the screen. At the empty spot where Daniel had stood moments ago. At Hannah. She still hadn't moved. She was gripping the edges of her chair like it was the only thing keeping her from collapsing, her entire body stiff with shock. I stood up slowly. She must have felt my eyes on her because she finally turned. For the first time since this whole mess started, she looked at me. And I saw it. Not just fear. Not just humiliation. Panic. For so long, she had controlled the narrative. She had been so sure that I would never find out, that she could play her game and get away with it. Now, she was staring at the wreckage of her carefully crafted lie. I walked past her without a word. I didn't need to say anything. She had already lost everything. The following weeks were chaos. Daniel Lancaster's fall from grace was even messier than I anticipated. The board wasted no time severing ties with him. He was fired immediately, but that was just the beginning. Lawsuits started piling up, investigations were launched, and his entire career turned to ash overnight. The media got wind of it within days. His name was dragged through every news outlet, every finance blog, every scandal-hungry platform looking for blood. His wife, Laura, she left him. Not quietly. Not with dignity. She burned everything to the ground. She filed for divorce almost immediately, armed with evidence that made sure he'd walk away with nothing. She leaked even more dirt to the press, ensuring that whatever little reputation he had left was obliterated. The last I heard, Daniel was drowning in legal battles, abandoned by nearly everyone who once worshipped him. Good. I didn't care what happened to him after that. But Hannah, that was different. She tried to reach out. At first, just a text. "Can we talk?" I didn't respond. Then a longer message. "Please, I know I hurt you, but can we just meet? Just once." I ignored that too. Then, the voicemail started. Her voice was raw, shaking. She wasn't smug anymore. She wasn't untouchable anymore. She was begging. I never answered. Our divorce was fast. I had everything I needed to ensure she walked away with nothing. No leverage. No money. No power. I made sure of it. She tried to fight it at first, hiring some expensive lawyer in a last-ditch effort to salvage her future. But the evidence was too damning. The video. The emails. The recordings of her laughing about it. The moment her lawyer realized what I had on her, the fight was over. She signed the papers. And just like that, she was gone. I heard through the grapevine that she lost her job shortly after. With Daniel out of the picture, her position wasn't as secure as she thought. Turns out, when your biggest selling point is who you're sleeping with, you become disposable the moment they're gone. I could have smiled about it. I could have celebrated. But I didn't feel the need to. By the time it was all over, I had already won. One night, months later, I was sitting in a quiet bar, nursing a drink and enjoying the silence when someone slid into the seat across from me. I didn't even have to look up. "Laura." She smirked as she set her drink down. "Well," she said, swirling the liquid in her glass. "That was fun." I let out a small laugh. "Not exactly the word I'd use," I muttered. She raised an eyebrow. "No." She leaned in slightly, her voice lower. "Tell me something. Do you regret it?" I thought about that for a moment. Everything I had lost. Everything I had gained. And then I met her gaze. "No," I said simply. "Not for a second." Her smirk widened. She lifted her glass, a silent toast. I clinked mine against hers. And just like that, the past was behind us. I was free. Thank you for visited my YouTube channel. Your support, likes, and comments truly inspire me to create even more engaging content. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. You're a part of this amazing community, and I'm thrilled to share my stories with you. See you in the next video on YouTube.